generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.
Good evening, Patriots. It is March 17th, 2026, the 17th CAC. This is the AlphaWarrior Show. This is a conversation with just Alpha. Nothing changes if nothing changes and everything changes. This is an early show. Why? Because we didn't do just Alpha last night, and we got a lot of content to cover. We might have to break this up into two parts because we have to have this done by 10:30 p.m. Eastern, because that's when I'll be going live with my boy Josh on DEFCON. What are we talking about? A lot, at least on this first half. Save America Act, Q, Back to the Future, comms, Iran, some election stuff. I mean, there is a lot of information in here. My apologies for yesterday. For those of you that follow me on the different platforms, I've been dealing with the sciatic issue, and it just hit its climax yesterday. And to push through a 3-hour show on this chair was just not going to be bearable. I still have it. It's not as bad today. And everybody that's been wishing me well with that, thank you. It's my fault. I got to do better at stretching. But with that, let's get into these ads. Let's rock. And then let's get into showtime, because like I said, we got a lot to cover and we got to do it in a very short window. The goal is to get through the majority of this here, at least in the next 3 hours. So Rumble Wallet, folks. They can freeze your accounts, shut off your cards, lock you out of your own money overnight. They did it to me in 2021, 21 days. Banks don't protect you, they control you. That's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. You can own Tether Gold, real gold, on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you get direct ownership of physical gold bars, each one fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. This isn't paper gold. This isn't an IOU. This is real gold without a bank, vaults, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That's power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using Rumble Wallet, peer-to-peer, and outside the banking system. No permissions, no middlemen, no cancel button. This wallet is yours forever. If you're like, I don't see a QR code on my screen, Alpha, it's because you're not watching on Rumble. You got to be watching on Rumble, and that QR code will be right there. The link will be in the live chat. And if you happen to watch the replay or come over to Rumble afterwards, that link will be down in the description below. So for those of you who are wondering, but what about our Tuesday show, Alpha? You're going to get two shows tomorrow. You're going to get one early in the day. That was going to be tonight's show. And then again, we'll have Operation Gladio live tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. And shout out Seth Munson. I am going to read the Rumble rants as I get to them, because like I said, I don't know what the end of the show is going to look like, and I don't want to miss it. So Seth Munson, or Seth A. Munson, I hope I'm saying it correctly. Thank you for your continued service to our country. $100. Thank you. And I'll also keep an eye out on those super chats. So let's get into this. We opened up the show with that teaser that I always do. Dan Scavino posts this about 2-minute video. You guys heard it. I believe that's what Christopher Walken's, I think is the name. Phenomenal actor. The Lion, right? Don't want to miss what, that bad boy right there. I when I initially saw this, I saw this as, reference President Trump, reference America. And then as I kind of continued to, prep for the show and everything over the last few days, I was like, you're talking about MAGA too. You're talking about the American patriot too. There's, I put out a post a little while ago, A man's ego is only at the mercy of the man who's stronger than him, so long as he has patience. And I think the deep state is going to take one to the chin. As Trump exposes this mechanism of the globalists, the elite, the tyrannical apparatus within our own government, the infiltration in every institution, all the way down to the local level, patriots are not liking it. Now, there's a lot of, some intentional, some not, where people are not handling it correctly. And I hope my perspective helps to acknowledge concern without creating chaos. Because the only ones that want chaos is the deep state. There is no playbook. Let me repeat this, and I will bet my life on it. There is no playbook scenario where the good guys will ever institute chaos. Ever. So, and then, like I said, there's a difference between chaos and controlled destruction. And if you're following this channel, I think you're pretty up to speed on what a lot of that looks like. So let's get into the show. Let's cover some of the wins and just news in the beginning as we get into these themes, because we're on countdown, folks. Carolyn Levitt. Today, President Trump signed an executive order to combat fraudulent Made in America claims by foreign manufacturers and sellers, ensuring Americans get clear, accurate information and supporting businesses that truly manufacture in the United States. This is going to be awesome. Again, this is a win because we will celebrate wins on this channel. When you go to buy something, whether it's something, a large purchase, like an automobile, or, a purse, right? For your mom or your wife or your daughter, is it made in America? Because you find out like the handle is, but the rest of it isn't. So we're moving to a position where made in America is going to mean made in America, which is also going to bring jobs back. And we're going to cover that here in just a few as well. Also, another one, expanding access to home loans. Today, President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order to reduce regulatory burdens that have driven up mortgage costs, limited access to credit-worthy borrowers, and weakened community bank participation in lending. We are going to see Americans being able to buy homes again, folks. And I absolutely am excited about that. As these mass deportations continue to take place, as Trump has already handcuffed corporations from buying single-family homes, that is going to open the door for us. But there's a lot of red tape, and that red tape is being removed because that red tape was put there to allow for foreigners and corporations to buy. So notice how Trump took away that red tape, handcuffed those other people, and now he's going to make it better for us. Again, greatest president in American history. Jackie Kokewitz, if I said that correctly, in just 1 year, President Trump has cut the trade deficit by more than half. January 2025, trade deficit, $128 billion. January 2026, trade deficit, $54 billion. At the same time, American exports just hit a record high. Proof America First agenda is delivering. That is solid. Let's see. Someone said, let's see. I see Breadmaker in the chat. Alpha just lost another $100. Did I make a bet? Did I make a bet? I lose. I'll go back and look through the chat and see if I can figure out what that was about. I hope I didn't lose a bet. Liz Churchill says John Hopkins. This one, especially given what the information you guys know surrounding, my best friend. This is good news here. John Hopkins Hospital has had the patent for mebendazole polymorph for the treatment and prevention of tumors for a long time, she reports. This was suppressed because the cancer industry makes $225 billion a year on their profitable designer drugs. The pharmaceutical liars hate you. And there you have it. If you want to go look it up, United States patent, Riggins, and then look up patent number US 11, 110, 079B2, and those commas might be periods when you're actually looking them up in the text. So if you put in the commas and it doesn't yield anything, replace those commas with periods, and then I'll make this big so I can read the highlighted section on the abstract, subsection 57. Mebendazole is an antiparasitic drug with over 40 years of safe use. Recently, Mebendazole was repurposed for glioblastoma therapy. And then on the last part, mebendazole may have also been used for therapy of other cancers as well as chemopreventative agent. This is solid. Let's see if anybody caught me up. Alpha, bread maker needs you to remove the pin. Says rant is blocked from Munting Alpha. Oh, I've been with you, bread maker. So here's, let me show you guys, switch screens, because when I'm on other shows, let me stop sharing this. Let me go big screen with me, because I want to make sure everybody understands this. Let me show you guys another window real quick where we're going to watch the show in the show. Let's see how weird this looks. So if you guys look over here, I don't know if you can see my mouse on the screen, but on the top right where the rants is, this is the link where it says the AlphaWarrior Show, create sponsor. There's a little up arrow that's there. If you hit that up arrow that's right there, that will collapse that and it'll give you room to do that. So you are not alone on that one, bread maker. I was trying to send a rant one time for the fellas over there on Badlands, and I was just like, I can't put it. It was frustrating me, but we figured it out. So hopefully that helps. So let's move on to the next one. From John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., I'm assuming a parody account. Boom, Trump signs historic executive order. No more secret biolabs. Frankenstein science, Fauci lies, or pandemic experiments on U.S. soil. President Trump signs a bombshell executive order shutting down gain-of-function research and secret biolabs. Fauci under pressure. No more playing with God, with American lives. A turning point in American history. Follow me. The next drop will be shocking. And so if you guys, and I know that one got a lot of attention behind it. So, you know, some of you that might be like, oh yeah, I heard about that. But a lot of people that didn't. Again, another huge win, and the wins aren't stopping. Awaken Outlaw. Okay, so this is awesome. And he's talking about Pool Theories posts. Breaking Trump to use war powers to unlock 30 billion barrels of oil trapped off the California coast. He is invoking a Cold War era law to bypass state rules so a Texas company can restart a massive oil field that has been shut down for years. And you can see it reported right there by Jennifer Dooley. Trump to invoke executive law for offshore oil company Sable One. So when you got, I'm in California with, you know, someone like Gavin Newsom, and you have this happening, it's solid to know that Trump has some geniuses in his corner that are like, hey, we have laws with precedents that give you the authority to help fix things for people. And I see call sign Cujo in the chat. Drill, baby, drill. Absolutely. I'm with you on that one, brother. Then we get Susie Mansky. Susie Mansky. I apologize, brother, because this is a great post, and I wish I could have got your name right. Breaking Saudi Arabia planned for a Hormuz crisis 45 years ago. While the world depended on the Strait of Hormuz, Saudi Arabia quietly built a 1,200-kilometer oil pipeline from the Persian Gulf to the Red Sea. Why does this matter? Nearly 20% of global oil flows through Hormuz. If it ever gets blocked, markets could panic. But Saudi crude can bypass the checkpoint entirely and still reach global markets. A quiet project from decades ago now looks like one of the smartest geopolitical energy moves ever. I'll bring it up to make it a little bit bigger for you guys that want to take a screenshot or turn it into a post later. I went fact checked this and researched it, and I'll tell you guys, fact check true. So pretty interesting strategy that was done many years ago. I wonder what was going down 45 years ago that they anticipated that the Strait of Hormuz would get shut down. I wonder if there was false flags events that had happened or were about to happen that people anticipated a war and they were trying to get ahead of it. Food for thought. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. Sarah Sizzle puts U.S. Navy Marine Corps team fast ropes from a helicopter to board and secure a suspected drug trafficking vessel at night, shown in infrared footage. America doesn't want the garbage coming into our country. Now, I just want to say something, and this is on me. You know, it's my responsibility. We've been doing this to vessels almost every week, and it's become so routine that our guys and gals are out there, you know, laying a can of whoop ass, you know, to these tankers that are trying to do this. that I stopped reporting on it because it just became routine. And I was like, no, we Americans need to know that this wasn't a timeline of just hype. This is ongoing efforts to make sure that our country and the neighboring countries around us are not allowing these drugs, amongst other things, into the realm of our country. So this is a win. If I don't show it every week, I'm still going to try to intentionally show it as often as I can because, again, we need to make sure we're talking about the wins. Colin Rugg puts, former UFC fighter Cain Velasquez shares a message to his fans after being released from prison for firing at a man who allegedly molested his 4-year-old son at a daycare. In 2022, Velasquez got in a high-speed 11-mile chase, which accused Pedro Harry Gallardi Jr. I think it's Pedro, but Pedro could fall in line with that too. Velasquez reportedly rammed his car into Gallardi's vehicle before pulling out his gun and firing at Gallardi. The DA's office had requested a sentence of 30 years to life for Velasquez. I want to pause here just for a second because that part ticks me off. Back in my former life as a cop, and shout out Breadmaker for gifting 5 subscriptions to the show. I appreciate that. Thank you. I would arrest some of the worst people, folks. Some of the most evil, vile people. Repeat offenders. Rap sheets for pages. On probation, on parole already for violent offenses. And then the DA will give them a slap on the wrist. 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And now you have a dude here. And granted, I'm not saying I support vigilante justice. However, in a situation like this, I ain't going to judge someone for someone I probably would have did the same damn thing. But what I will say is to throw the book at a man that was protecting his child kind of tells you how evil some of these judicial systems are. So to carry on, he was sentenced to 5 years at the time, already serving 3 of them, but was able to earn additional time off after participating in rehabilitative programming. Velasquez says he's happy to be home with his kids and thanks fans for their support. Congrats, Cain. If you guys remember, hell of a freaking UFC fighter. Just a hell of a fighter. And I'll tell you what, like I said, I'm not going to say I support vigilante justice, but at the same time, I'm not going to knock this man for something that I probably would have reacted the same way. Very strong likelihood. So the man's got his freedom against. For those of you that followed Cain, hopefully that brings a little joy to your heart to know that that man who should have never served a day in jail is out. And shout out Breadmaker again, 10 more subscriptions. Freaking, that's what I'm talking about. U.S. Secret Service. So many of you are like, do it. I love what I do now, folks. Now, if the president or somebody in power called upon me, I would answer the call without hesitation. If they gave me the option, this is where God put me, and this is where I don't mind resting for the time being. The U.S. Secret Service, if you're in law enforcement and ready for the next level, or if you are thinking about a career in law enforcement, the Secret Service is looking for police officers and offering a $75,000 recruiting incentive. You guys heard that right, $75,000. Apply now, and you could also be eligible for an exclusive employment event that can speed up your hiring process by 120 days. Find out more at secretservice.gov/careers/uniform. That link, if one of you guys doesn't mind sharing it, I will grab it and put it in the chat. And then if one of you guys can put it in the comments for me, because I will always back the blue. So there you guys have it now as well. Let's keep going. And I'm going rapid on this stuff, folks, because I want to make sure we get into at least a majority of these themes. But don't worry, if we don't finish, I'll do a part 2. Right Angle News reports. This one was interesting, folks. Soon to be former Rep. Jasmine Crockett's security guard, Mike King, who's known for assaulting conservative journalists, has died in an armed standoff with Dallas SWAT. This is the one he went into the parking structure and there was a shootout. It's very interesting. So I went and started reading some of the stories on this to kind of, what's more, what's going on with this. And so far, what's been reported is law enforcement was trying to take him down because he was impersonating law enforcement. Goes into the structure. There's the standoff, gets into the shootout with Dallas SWAT. They survived. He didn't. But again, this is a woman that was in a powerful position of government, and this is the kind of character she had surrounding herself. So, was it really about him impersonating a law enforcement officer, or was there more to this? And dude was not gonna have to answer questions or deal with what's coming. I don't know. That's complete speculation there. I just find it with his proximity to a congressman, how that played out. But again, garbage invites garbage. Next, you guys are going to love this. So I'm going to play this video for you guys. Desiree Doreen Sagari, the woman who called for people wearing MAGA hats to be shot, has been found guilty of interstate communication of a threat to injure following our viral report. She now faces up to 5 years in prison. Some nasty language here, folks. So just forewarning, but listen to what this vile woman said.
Okay, guys. So I would like to start a new movement called See MAGA, because people like that respond to fear and terror and aggression, not logic and empathy and, I don't know, intelligence. It doesn't work for them. So fear works. So if we all get our guns and use our Second Amendment right and our common sense, at this point this administration is begging us to rise up and revolt, and you see somebody with a MAGA hat, pew pew, that's what we do. That's the way. It's the only way. Put them back in their basements, make them scared again to be racist, homophobic, and terrible, just awful fucking pieces of shit. Because I would way rather live next to immigrants than MAGA people. MAGA people deserve to be terrified and scared to walk in the streets, because they should know that real Americans are gonna kill them.
I am so glad that this insane woman is arrested, and I hope they make an example out of her, and I hope there's a few others that are made an example of as well. I've reported a few to the FBI, and I think people will be happy when they see the outcomes of those. But here's what it comes down to, folks. Understand projection, right? They kept saying that this is how MAGA felt about the other side. And of course, it's really them. But this goes into a conversation. Hopefully we can cover it in tonight if we get through this fast enough. If not, we'll go into it on part 2. Is when I was talking about the Shills, like Candace and the Jake Shields, they have audience members that think like this woman right here. This woman right here, right over there. This is their mentality. So when people say, oh, you know, what's the big deal? Is people like this woman right there believe the shit that these crazy people put out there. And that's what gets these people to go do things like assassinate Charlie Kirk, try to assassinate the president, try to go after some of our other government officials, because they know there's psychopaths like this that are listening. So let's keep going. Andy Nago says, breaking verdict reached in the first ever federal Antifa terrorism trial over the Texas ICE ambush where an officer was shot in the neck. All cell members have been convicted. Antifa supporters had threatened witnesses during the trial. Let me tell you why this is important. I anticipate in the very near future that you're going to see injunctions in RICO cases that are done against Antifa, assuming that they're already not happening. And when that happens, you need to show predicate crimes that members of these organizations have been a part of. And so when you get convictions like this, that is what's going to support those injunctions in RICO cases in the future. So just understand that, yes, this is great. Yes, it's happening, but there's far more value to this case right here. And these first ever federal, Antifa terrorism trials, being convicted is far more important than just there's finally accountability. This is also setting up power moves that I believe we are going to be seeing in the not too distant future. And shout out again, Breaker, Breadmaker 62 gifting another 5 subscriptions to the AlphaWarrior Show. Dang, freaking awesome. You guys got me pumped up while we're doing this. Let's keep firing off. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, arrested 9 sex offenders during a 2-day targeted operation throughout the greater Los Angeles area. Learn the criminal histories of the 9 featured alien sex offenders below. I'm just going to do the first one, like I said, in the interest of time. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Lucas Rendon Hernandez, a criminal illegal alien from Mexico convicted of arranging to meet and sexually abuse a child, sentenced to just 3 days in jail. That one's harsh, folks. That's harsh. But here are the pictures. And again, I will put this link in the comment for anybody that wants to go back and repost this. 12 years in prison is more like it. But again, for those that love to scream that nothing's happening, those that love to try to subvert the president, for those that love to try to affect the morale of MAGA Republicans and American patriots, yeah, tell me nothing's getting done. And we're not done. This is right here in my backyard in Southern California. As a matter of fact, someone very close to me was in proximity to one of these investigations that was happening. And I was happy to hear the motivation of the officers that were involved. But Libs of TikTok reports breaking 37 missing children found and 7 arrests made in massive anti-trafficking operation in Southern California. Thank you to law enforcement. Now, I know initial reports were coming out with, these were all toddlers. As I understand it, and I went and started looking through this, 36 of the 37 that I have found out were all in the upper teenage area, which still kids. I'm not minimizing the effect of it. And then one, I just could not figure out what the age range was. So maybe there was one toddler. I don't know. Or maybe there were toddlers that were taken into custody by CPS, not because they were victims of the trafficking, but maybe because they were tied to people in the household who were arrested for these things. And of course, you would want Child Protective Services involved in something like that. And yes, I get the conversation around CPS. That's another matter. But again, Los Angeles, this is California. First one was Los Angeles. This one's Riverside County. So 2 of the largest counties in our state have operations where they're taking down traffickers and pedophiles and rescuing kids. So again, when people tell you ain't nothing happening, hit them with this and then hit them with this one too. FBI Director Kash Patel, this FBI under President Trump has been nothing short of record-breaking, safeguarding America. Thank you, POTUS, for backing the blue. I am going to fire through these real quick. 2025, FBI's historic year. 112% increase in violent crime arrest year to year. 20% decrease in homicides. 20% decrease in robberies. 9% difference decrease in aggravated assaults. 1,800 gangs and criminal enterprises disrupted. That was a 210% increase. 2,250 plus kilos of fentanyl seized, up 31%. That's enough to kill 178 million Americans. 21 cyber-related criminal dismantlements, 346 cyber-related indictments, 490% increase in FBI-affiliated ballistic violent extremism arrests, 20% increase in FBI arrests related to the 764 network. If you guys remember that we had, oh my gosh, I can't think of her name right now, BX on the show, over the last couple of years, she's done phenomenal work on reporting and investigating that 764 network. 6,000 plus child victims located, 1,700 child predators arrested, 300 plus human traffickers arrested, 42% increase in counterintelligence arrests. That means intel that was actionable that led to an arrest. And you guys know that that's something that I've talked about for quite some while. 40% increase in global extraditions or foreign transfers of custody. 7 of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives captured since January 2025, shutting down the Hoover building, moving the FBI headquarters to save taxpayers nearly $5 billion. Again, when they tell you nothing's happening, you have the whole first part of this show where we're talking about that. Shout out Lee Walden, $5 Rumble Rant, Evening Alpha and crew. Can't believe I'm catching you live at such an early time. Much appreciate you, Marine. Stay the course, brother. I will. And it's kind of weird because I'm like, I got a lot of energy. I got to make sure I say something for DEF CON, folks. Don't forget that's coming up next. Eric Daugherty puts in, just in, the Trump administration has just launched Section 301 investigations into 60 countries for using modern slavery of forced labor. This could result in massive tariffs and fees from President Trump. If we find that countries have been involved in unfair trading practices like subsidies, excess capacity, allowing goods made with forced labor into their countries, we can quantify that harm to U.S. commerce and then try to resolve that issue with the country. Hint, tariffs. We're trying to move in a matter of months. And with that, we can try to resolve some of these issues that have been plaguing the global trading system for many years, and we're finally trying to solve. Now, let me explain, coming off the heels of what we were just talking about with all this human trafficking, child labor. If Trump starts to hit these companies that are doing that with tariffs, they're going to have to shut down doing that. Because guess what? The next move is Trump is going to charge tariffs or penalties on countries that are also still dealing with them and want to deal with us. That's the next move that's coming down the pipeline. Mark my words. And so what Trump's doing here is not only is he arresting human and child traffickers, he's cutting off the reward system at the other end of that. So again, when they tell you he's protecting the elite, he's protecting the pedophiles. No, to all those retards out there that just want to read headlines and do clickbait and grift and run operations to subvert the president in America, he's actually doing stuff that is in real time saving the lives of adults and children that get caught in human trafficking. And again, it's going to force those companies in that manufacturing back into the United States, which is going to create jobs here. And that's a great thing too. But I think most of us would agree that saving the kids would be priority one. And that is something that he's accomplishing by that move. Let's keep going. Breaking. This comes from Eric as well. In an incredible tariff win for President Trump, an aluminum plant in South Carolina just surged jobs for Americans that pay $125,000 per year. Century Aluminum CEO Jesse Gary, the tariffs are working. The plant is going back to 100% manufacturing capacity. The fake news does not want to show this. Again, folks, when you see Massey and MTG and all these other people coming after Trump and trying to weaponize the conversation against tariffs, and you have these jobs coming into South Carolina, $125,000 a year jobs coming into those people, and they want to pretend they're America first, Trump's moves are the ones that are working. I'd definitely like to know how my audience feels about tariffs. So let me know in the comments. If you're pro tariffs, I kind of understand why. But let me know if you're pro tariffs, because I would love for all of us to kind of get a marker in the comments. You can say it in the live chat too. Just know the live chat will disappear in a few hours, and I want to go back and actually kind of, it'll be anecdotal to this audience, but I'd like to see where your guys' position is. So if you guys don't mind, go in the comments and just say pro tariffs. If you're anti-tariff, let me know, but then let me know why. Just a quick, 1 or 2 sentences why you're against it. And I'd really like to get the temperature of my audience. So if you can do that, and on all the different chats, whether you're watching on Twitter, or you're watching on YouTube, or you're watching on Rumble, let me know. I'd like to go check that out. Next, the Golden Age Times. They've been doing some phenomenal work when it comes to exposing Massey and all the people that are trying to get behind Ed. Ed Callaghan launches website exposing Thomas Massey's lies about Ed being woke, called Ed's Tractor Truths. Thomas Massey knows Ed Callaghan's real record of service. He knows Ed is a decorated Navy SEAL captain. He knows Ed is a 5th-generation Kentucky family farmer. He knows Ed has spent his life serving this nation, not serving himself. So why the woke attacks? Because when you can't defend your own record, you try to distract from it. Thomas Massey is lying to cover his own failed record. Here are the facts. Ed Callaghan is a decorated Navy SEAL combat veteran with 4 Bronze Stars who understands commitment. A veteran SEAL team officer who led combat operations. A 5th-generation family farmer who understands the value of grit, faith, and teamwork. A proven patriot who believes in the Constitution and service above self for family and freedom. That's why Thomas Massey's lies and attacks are so desperate. They aren't about the truth. They're about fear. Fear of a leader who is farm strong. Fear of a leader who is SEAL tough. Fear of a leader who puts America first. Get the facts, ignore the noise. That's why President Trump endorsed Ed Gallerin. Our president knows Ed will lead the fight against the woke agenda. Team Massey is in absolute panic mode right now at their beloved betting markets that they cited so many times, have the two within 4 points of each other. Trump coming to Massey's backyard tomorrow will definitely be keeping Massey and his supporters up at night. I think I have those set up for you guys right now too. And with the poly market ones. And shout out to Apostle Nick, who just became a monthly supporter here on the Rumble channel. Welcome to the family, Nick. When you have Trump that's in Kentucky, in Massey's area, and he brings up Massey and the people are boo. That says something. The other thing with the poly market, when you have people, and I know a lot of you like Matt Gaetz too, but when they're coming up and, saying, hey, Tucker's good or this is good, and they're quote posting the poly market, I want you guys to pay attention to this. And not just with poly market, some of these other ads as well. Down in the left corner, you'll say paid advertisement. So just understand that was not some, coming from the heart moment. I'm going to support my buddy. That was poly market saying, if you post this, this is what you get paid. Ed doesn't have to rely on that. I ain't getting paid to say any of these things about Ed. I ain't getting paid to say any of the things I'm saying about Thomas Massey. Just calling it the way I see it. So let's keep going. I think we're doing some pretty decent time here. The Patriot Oasis. Let's play this video. This is what I'm kind of talking about right here.
Mr. President, welcome to Kentucky and thanks for coming to the heartland. Because you are loved and admired here for your courageous leadership of our great nation at such a critical time in history. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. This is the land of we the people, right here. I want to thank you for your endorsement, because once you did that, my support skyrocketed. So I look forward to serving to the people as their representative of Kentucky District 4. Because as you folks know, you deserve an authentic, true Republican conservative that stands shoulder to shoulder with our president and the Republican Party and against the Democrats who are trying to destroy our nation. USA, USA, USA. So, Mr. President, I will stand with you and the party to put America first and Kentucky always. Mr. President, I hope the fake news gets this. Tom Massey stands with the ladies of The View. Tom Massey stands with the ladies of The View. Mr. President, we stand with you. Fight, fight, fight! USA! USA!
I'm telling you, that is the greatest candidate. I've done this before, not quite as violently and miserably as this one.
Pretty awesome. But again, that's who Trump's got his name behind. We got another Rumble rant that came in from Veruman, $5, says, this is bread makers. Oh, okay, thank you for that, Veruman. If my rant would have posted, I wanted to tell you, Alpha Warrior, I hope you're feeling better and that we are so glad to see you back today. Much love, brother. Semper Fortis. Semper Fortis, their bread. Yeah, I'm good. It's like I said, it's my fault. I want to go in there, throw weights around like I'm 20 years old. And I got to remember, I got to stretch, this white here in the beard is to remind me now that I got to stretch when I go into these workouts. So this is kind of my own fault for, going straight into the workouts. And I share that with you guys. So we all know, make America healthy again, make ourselves healthy again, but let's not cut corners because some of us aren't so young anymore. and we don't want to get hurt. And shout out Vrooman for taking $5 out of your wallet to make sure that I got Brett's message. Definitely appreciate that. And another one coming, $100 from the Boom Diggity Alpha. You got to do hot Epsom salt bath, 16 ounces of salt, and then add a bottle of hydrogen peroxide to the hot bath and add 5 drops of ginger essential oil. Favorite bath. You know what? I'm up for something. All right. I will visit that because I do have Epsom salt. I think the one I have is even got like mint in it already or something like that. I didn't realize that would help with something like sciatic though. So thank you for that, Boom Diggity. Thank you guys for the support as well. It makes the haters so mad, right? They scream, "You guys are controlled." You know, Israel's paying you 7,000, then the other side, you know, this person's paying you that. There are 0 contracts that own this show, folks. The people that own this show is me and you guys. That's who own this show. That's what allows us to talk about whatever we want to talk about and have whatever position we want to have. And man, that scares the mechanism. A man of memes, breaking Scott Pezent just announced the Internal Revenue Service is launching massive audits of financial institutions that facilitated the laundering of Minnesota funds. RICO, folks. RICO. Don't think of all these things. Don't think of them as independent cases. Zoom out and remember RICO. Read that again. Banks, MSBs, financial middlemen. Anyone who helped move dirty money is about to get torched. For once, the IRS is being deployed for Americans first, not against working families. Follow the money, audit everything, prosecute whoever broke the law. Thank you, Scott Pezent. I'm telling you, folks, I think what we're seeing right now is the weaponization of an institution that was designed to target Americans. I'm talking about the IRS. I think what we're seeing now is Trump's administration pointing that weaponized institution right back at the people that created it. And he's going to use that institution to expose all of them. And then he's going to shut it down. I firmly believe that we're going to see that institution shut down and we'll see something solely as like state taxes. And then, you know, maybe one just solid 1% federal tax or something like that. Some arguments that I've heard that I'm like, yeah, they make sense. But I think he's going to use the IRS to be careful with my language here. I want to make sure we survive on YouTube. They're a little sensitive over there, right? Not the audience. You audience over there on YouTube, you're great. But it's such a headache when it's like, we're going to take down the show you put. It's just like, all right. And then shout out behind my chair, dollar for dollar. I can't believe I'm catching you live. Love your show. Keep us all sane. And you're always over the target. Thank you. Thank you for that behind my chair. So let's keep going. This one's heavy, folks. Dan Bongino with an important public service announcement. Bongino, quote, and I'm going to play this for you guys to hear it yourself. What I will say as a disclaimer, 100% I'm behind the Second Amendment. 100% I'm behind Americans owning firearms. Make sure you train. Make sure you know what the laws in your respective areas are so that you don't find yourself in a pickle. All right. There are some states that are they behave very commie-like, California being one of those, right? That they still have my guns from the case that I won against them with a court order telling them to give them back to me. They still won't do it. So just understand, know the laws in your areas and just keep that in mind as Bongino shares this message, because unfortunately, this is a very important message.
And I will say, most importantly, if you can and are willing to train first, because being untrained is not going to help you much. I'm telling you as a friend, carry if you can. Carry if you can. I say it to my own team. I do, but you got security. Don't care. Carry if you can. Because let me tell you something. If it's the bad guy, I don't want to kill or hurt anyone. I abhor violence. I don't give a shit what any lunatic in the liberal media tells you. I absolutely abhor and roundly condemn any act of political violence. Give zero fucks who you are. But I am dead serious. It's not a tough guy. I'm a broken 51-year-old, folks. I can barely lift my arms and shoulders. If you think I'm trying to tell you I'm tough, you got the wrong show. I'm telling you the opposite. Maybe 20 years ago, I've stood a chance. A firearm is the great equalizer. If it's me or you, it's you.
Again, folks, be responsible. No point in owning something that you don't know how to legally and responsibly handle. Make sure you got a safe, or make sure you have it in a place that kids can't get to if you got young ones around. But most importantly, train. That's important. And we'll take this moment for this special sponsor that reached out to the AlphaWarrior Show specifically, folks. So that is a testament to your guys' support. And who am I talking about? I am talking about MCG Tactical. We're talking about Rattler, and you will see that QR code populate on the screen right now. All right, check this out. This just came out of research and development, and it is wild. The engineers over at MCG Tactical teamed up with some legit defense contractors and retired special forces guys to build one thing: the toughest, fastest red dot sight on the planet. They call it the Rattler. We're talking next level tech here, a special lens coating that kills the glare, keeps the image crisp, and lets you zero in crazy fast with a 2 MOA dot. It's tough as nails, lightweight, totally waterproof, heat resistance, and it coat witnesses perfectly with your irons. The wild part, military contractors are dumping their $800 optics for this thing. And right now, MCG Tactical is letting my audience get it for under, you guys are not going to believe this. Again, this is a testament to your guys' support. Capitalize on it while you can. If you don't have a rifle yet, buy this for when you do get one. My audience gets this for under $60. Yeah, that's right. You get 75% off and free shipping during this launch. But heads up, their supply is tight, so they're capping it at 2 per person, so don't get greedy. They also got it in tan and black, so whatever your rifle setup is, they got you covered. If you want one, scan that QR code or go to mcgtac.com/alpharat before they're gone. Again, mcgtac.com/alpharat before they're gone. That link will be already in the live chat. And again, if you're watching the replay, hopefully they're still around. Depending when you watch the replay, that link will be down in the description on Rumble. Sorry, folks, if you're watching another platform, you got to come to Rumble if you want that deal. So again, they reached out to this show specifically, and I think that is a testament to the amazing audience that I have here. Again, train. So let's carry on what we got right here now. The SCIF reports Georgia forensic analysis with 6 affidavits allege that over 30,000 ballots are fraudulent. The 2020 election was stolen, being reported by the SCIF. I happen to agree with that opinion. I'm going to let you guys listen to this yourselves.
With the forensic analysis, looking at these 147,000 mail-in ballots. Now, what is at issue here? There's a couple of key things. Here's the 2 key things is, were there counterfeit ballots? 6 affidavits. Now, we had 4, now it's 6. 6 affidavits of veteran election officials are alleging that up to 30,000 of these 147 ballots are fake. Somebody printed them up on a machine and ran them through the vote counting machines. They're not real. They're not attached to anybody. They have 4 pieces of evidence for this. None of these are going away. None of these can be explained. Number 1, they're on different paper. What kind of paper are they on? Why isn't the same paper that everything else is on? Number 2, they're not folded. Well, what do you mean they're not folded? In order to get an absentee ballot, you have to get it in the mail, which means that the Department of Elections in Georgia machine folded the ballot. You can't have a ballot in an envelope that you mail back or Dropbox back that's not folded. You either got it folded or you sent it back folded, or both with an envelope. So why aren't they folded? Number 3, you've got the same exact bubble mark on the ballot, the same one for upwards of 30,000 of these ballots. 97% of them voting for Joe Biden, 97% voting for John Ossoff. And the 4th thing is, the affidavits say that these the bubble marks are not made by an ink pen or a pencil, that they're made by a machine. These are the things that they're going to look at. Now, they did an analysis batch of 950 military ballots. 950. I want you to grasp what the findings are. And this is a matter of public record. Nobody made this up. Out of a batch of 950 military mail-in ballots, Joe Biden got 950 votes, Trump 0. That's 100%. That is virtually impossible to have happen. Not only that, they were in sequential order. That's also impossible. That means that every ballot that came in the mail is somehow in exact sequential order. How is that possible?
Now, look, folks, I get it. I'm the crayon eater, right? I get it. But if you're mailing in a ballot, like, get rid of all the stats, forget the bubbles, forget signatures, forget all that stuff. If you're mailing in a ballot, it's got to have at least one fold mark. If you're taking it in, it's going to have at least one folded mark. How does anyone make the argument of there's a ballot with no folds to it? And then again, of course, supplement it with all the other facts that he shared. But at a minimum, folks, Save America Act. Some of you know my position on it. Some of you are going to get it here as we finish up this section. You're probably going to be like, I'm not going to like it. Don't worry. I'm going to give you my assessment of what's coming. We got one more Rumble rant that came in. Dollar for dollar. Behind my chair, move to Florida where you can open carry. I will never leave the state. Listen, got kids in schools, so I'm anchored here to Cali for a little bit. And aside from that, I am definitely ready to look somewhere else to live. However, I also don't want to just abandon California without having to save it. And we got to save this state. California and New York, for all the hate rhetoric that the rest of the 48 states may share with it. If we completely abandon these states to the tyrannical left, the entire country collapses, folks. The economic impact that California and New York have, especially surrounding the ports, amongst other things, it's too important. So we got to secure these states. We can't give up. Can't give up. So, but I hear you behind my chair. Open carry is nice, very nice, and we'll see. Certain sheriff that's running for governor in California who wants to get rid of smog and all the stuff that they gotten rid of with, and he is, as I understand it, going to make sure we get our Second Amendment back. So we will see. Let's keep going with the Save America section that we have. Rapid Response 47 puts out, the only reason you vote against voter ID is because you want to cheat. There is no other reason. It's coming from Trump himself. Here's 24 seconds, so you guys don't think I'm making it up.
The only reason you vote against voter ID is because you want to cheat. There's no other reason. They come up with reasons. They say, it's racist. That's their number one, racist. Then you have to explain it, and they're just sitting there mumbling. They can't explain it. And it's actually very insulting when they use the term racist. Very insulting to the people that they're trying to so-called defend, but they're not defending.
The Apostle Nick family out in Ventura County area. It's nice. It's nice out there, man. Listen, California is a beautiful state, man. Rivers, mountains. You could have snow. You could have desert. You can go snowboarding, or you can ride quads. You could be in a river, hitting the jet skis or boat, or you can go out to the ocean, do some deep sea fishing. Got islands. Beautiful state, folks. But let's keep going. Anna Paulina Luna, an update on the inside baseball happening in DC regarding the Save America Act. I'll tell you, this woman is convincing me more and more and more that she isn't just some politician.
So next week, the Senate is going to be doing something called a show vote, meaning they are putting the Save America Act on the floor of the Senate, but they know it's not going to pass because they're not using the talking filibuster, which is how they would get it over the finish line. So instead of applauding them for their failures and mediocrity, The other strategy is to actually attach the Save America Act to FISA, which is a must-pass piece of legislation. Now, there's also been a group of us, a blockade that's formed that will in no circumstance allow any piece of legislation that the Senate sends down to pass because they're not doing their jobs on behalf of the American people. Meanwhile, the Senate literally just lectured us, oh, we don't have time to, use up our floor time on voter ID, literally one of the most important things in the country. Yet they're doing dog parades, they're going on taxpayer-funded congressional delegations, they're doing anything but their job. So that's a good pressure point, but really how we're going to get this done is attaching it to FISA. So please, please, please make your voices known to your elected representatives.
Now that's a slick move. And not a shot on her because she's smart. She's come up with some things, but I feel like that is almost orchestrated as a counter move right there. So again, I think there's something definitely going on, and we got a lot more that we're going to talk about with the Save America Act. But we can't forget our family over there at YouTube because we are growing over there. We got on the board, and I'll show the Rumble rants at the end of the show too. So just know that if the Rumble rants are there, I will be showing all of them at the end of the show too for tonight. Al Phelps, $5. Enjoyed you on Mr. Barry show. Great work. Barry Cunningham, folks. Love this guy. If you're not following Barry Cunningham, search him out. Just great. I should get Barry on People. He'd be a great guest for People. So thank you for coming and join the family over here. And then we got $50 coming in from Missy Temperance. 1140. I'm excited to see Trump's new anti-fraud task force. By the way, pro tariffs. That's what I'm talking about. See, pro tariffs. Could we drop in those super chats? I'm with you on that one. And listen, that pro task force, just to go to your point there. Think RICO. There's a lot of stuff that Trump is moving into the optics of public knowledge that if you zoom out and you look at the timing of it, the personnel that's being put into it, you can sit back and be like, this kind of reminds me of an investigation where these are all tied together. Spoiler alert, they are. That's you're not being a conspiracy theorist. You're recognizing patterns. And I'll tell you what, man, if there's anything that I've been very proud of on this show, is the communications I get from you guys, whether it be email or DMs, or some of you guys are sneaking. You find out my number and text messages, and you send me some of these theories you have. It shows me that you guys have learned, like you guys don't need me no more. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing, right? Maybe not a great business model, but it's a good thing for our country, for humanity. Because that means, let's just say they took me down one day. Let's just say the internet went down, or, censorship came back. You guys are now at a point where you don't need me to tell you these things. You'll probably have to invest the time and do things like that. But just to see so many of you are now in positions where I'm confident that, hey, take me down. There's at least 1,000 people that have the capabilities to do what I do now. And trust me, they're afraid of that. And I hope some of you do. Start creating your own Substacks and, becoming voices on these different social media platforms and your own podcasts, boom diggity. But you need us, Alpha. I do. I do need you guys. The biggest thing that I needed you guys for was to make my voice heard during Biden's regime, and they were trying to take me out. The corrupt FBI is trying to take me out. That's when I needed you guys the most, and you guys answered the call. Everything beyond that, this is just extra, and it's appreciated extra. Let's keep going. Lindell TV, our reporter Kara Castanova spoke with President Trump yesterday evening about the Save America Act as the bill heads toward debate in the Senate. Now, she wanted me to share this, so I'm going to share the video, and then after the video, I'll read what she wrote. But take a look at this.
Hey everybody, Kara Castronova, White House correspondent for Lindell TV. And last night I got the opportunity to speak on the phone with President Trump about the Save America Act. As you know, the Save America Act is such an important piece of legislation that is going through the Senate right now, possibly will be voted on this week. And this is something that this administration has really been pushing for, to require ID on the day that you go to vote, and also to prove that you're a citizen when you register to vote. Really common sense items, but for some reason it's being held up by Democrats and a few rhinos in the Senate. So there's a lot of controversy there. So I did give the president a call just to get his latest take on the Save America Act. And my question for him was, Mr. President, do you have anything on the Save America Act for me? And should leadership be replaced if it doesn't go through? And this is what he said to me on that phone call. He said, quote, "I hope they get it done. It's the most popular thing ever put in, and I hope they get it done. That is all I can tell you." And then President Trump went on to say, Mike Lindell too, that this is what Mike has been waiting for, and what a lot of great Republicans and citizens and patriots have been waiting for years. And somebody said they may have a few Republicans that might vote against it, and I don't know how you can vote against any of the 5 items. That's what the president said. He doesn't understand how any Republicans can vote against any of those 5 items. Then he went on to pose the question to me, you don't either, probably. It's incredible. Meaning like I probably can't even imagine myself as a reporter why these Senate members would not vote for the Save America Act. Like, why wouldn't they vote for these 5 items? So I will obviously be following up with the president and the administration this week regarding the Save America Act, something that is so important to so many American people, so important to our audience, something so many American people have been fighting for and so many people voted for, and Democrats support it. That's the crazy thing. All Americans support this piece of legislation. So let's see what the senators do this week. We will reach out to the White House for comment, obviously to the president for comment. Will it be a celebration? Will Senator Thune get this legislation passed through, or will there be disappointment if it doesn't get passed through? But I can tell you this, in the very least, the Democrats are going to expose themselves for not caring about secure elections. I don't know why anybody wouldn't vote for this stuff. So they're going to put themselves on the record saying that it's not important to have secure elections in the United States. And furthermore, the Republican rhinos that don't vote for it will go on the record forever as people who didn't care about safe and secure American elections. But you never know. It might get passed. So we'll keep you updated, guys.
And you guys will get my opinion on whether it will get passed here shortly. You guys can do me a solid in the chat. Give me 5x5s on the different platforms. I had a mic issue right now during that video, and I'm hoping that it's something. It sounds fine coming into my studio. I just want to make sure that I didn't jack anything up for you guys, and you guys are getting your ears blown out. So just, if you guys can throw me some thumbs up or 5x5s, I would definitely appreciate that. Let's recap 5 of the key provisions in the Save America Act, and this comes from Kara's post. Number 1, thank you. And I see those 5x5s coming in. So thank you for that, you guys. Number 1, requires proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. Seems like that should be common sense. Number 2, provides state access to federal databases to verify citizenship. Kind of seems like common sense on that one. 3, requires states to remove non-citizens from federal voter rolls. Seems like that should be an expectation, not a request. Number 4, establishes enforcement mechanisms and penalties for violations, like anything else where you break the law. 5, strengthens voter roll maintenance and the verification procedures. The question a citizen with street smarts must ask is this: why would Democrats and certain rhinos oppose this common sense legislation? What are your thoughts? For what reason would these lawmakers possibly have to not want safe and secure elections in this country they swore to protect? Comment below, and I definitely would like to get your guys' take on that. I think we all are probably going to be in agreement when we say because they're freaking corrupt, because they've stolen the apparatus of elections and made them selection processes. With that, I want to be very clear, especially these days. I 100%, if any of you didn't know, I want to be very clear on my position. You absolutely must vote. Not only must we vote, we must bring in as many of our family members, friends, and coworkers who are Americans that are eligible to vote to vote. 2 things can happen at once. We can be concerned with our election process while maintaining that we vote. There's only 2 ways that your vote has a 0 value. If you don't show up to vote, or if you vote and allow it to just be stolen. So first part of the equation here, we all got to vote. Second part of the equation, we got to find a way to secure our elections. And when you get those 2 things together, what does it equal? It equals for probably the first time in American history where our elected officials, our elected representatives, not leaders, representatives, will look like what the people actually want. Every other priority that we all have, that's the foundation. Elections. Obviously, God first, but with the things that we have the ability to control, elections. So let's keep going. Shout out to Cara on that. I should get her on people too. Bringing it to MJ Truth Ultra says, breaking John Solomon reports over the next 10 days, declassified documents will be released pertaining to foreign interference in U.S. elections. Pop quiz, which executive orders come to mind? Let me know in the live chat if you guys know right off the cuff. How many times was it renewed? Do you believe in coincidences? And was it just Trump's administration that renewed it? You can leave those down in the comments as well. Why is this important? Here's one of the reasons that it's important. This is going to come in the later part of the show as well. A lot of people want to solely focus on that country with the curly sideburns, but there are other threats, legitimate, powerful threats that also exist for our republic. And at the end of this show, towards the end of this show, whether it be this part or part two, and I think we might, we're in a narrow window. I'm trying to speak fast here. We might be able to get to that part. So if we don't, I promise there'll be a part two tomorrow. But let me let you guys listen to what John reports here.
Now, over the next 10 days, Steve, we're going to have a lot more. We are going to be able to get, for the first time, I've been able to start processing these documents, large body of evidence that's in the intelligence community that raises concerns about foreign interference in our elections. That'll probably be the end of this week or early next week. The documents are explosive. They're really remarkable. And what's most remarkable is that all this has been kept a secret from the American people, possibly President Trump in some cases, until recently, of course, when his team told him.
Now, again, this post is from March the 10th, so 7 days ago. And we're going to see some posts later on the show today. They're going to have some updates to this, and it's going to make sense. However, for the purposes of this show, whether you're watching live right now or the replay, I want it all to make sense. Whoever came into this show to kind of understand where we're going and how we got to the ones we're going to talk about later. Y'all saw this one coming. If you follow me and Josh, you saw this one coming months ago, right? Former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is reportedly sitting down with Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard to demonstrate how Venezuelan voting machines and software have been tampering with American elections on behalf of the Democratic Party. I would add, and rhinos. He is prepared to testify against all of the players who helped rig the 2020 presidential election in exchange for diplomatic immunity. Maduro is only the tip of the iceberg and a pawn on President Trump's chessboard. Lots of election stealing crooks are going to be very nervous tonight and the nights following. What I will say is, once this becomes public knowledge, and it will, you're going to start to understand, and most of you probably already understand, how did me and Josh know that you were going to see Venezuela, and then when everybody was screaming Iran, and we said, no, Mexico, and then it was Mexico, and then we said, now Iran, then it was Iran, and at the same time it was unfolding in Iran, what did I tell you guys? And bring your eyes right back to South America. I go in especially with Chile and Argentina. And I said specifically as well, don't look at combat operations with Chile and Argentina, but look for things that reflect our presence and look for things that show collaboration with our president. And I think it was yesterday, the day before, some headlines that came out that validated that. Of course, we also see what's going on with Ecuador and Cuba. We also see what's going on with Colombia. Listen, some people call it arrogance. Call it what you want. The fact is if you're following my show, if you're following my brother Josh's show, and I'll throw Barry in there too, because Barry's been lining up with a lot of us on these things too, you're well ahead of everybody else. So call it what it is. Let's keep going. Bringing it back to the skiff, rumors report that Nicolas Maduro is allegedly about to blow the lid off crucial information on election rigging software and voting machines, which originated in Venezuela. Kind of what we're talking about the last one. Let's take a listen to what Benny Johnson and the general have to say.
Do you think Maduro is going to say anything on this, given that so much of the Venezuelan software, and I know you know this very, very well, was operated by his regime.
Yep. The short answer is yes. And there's others that they have in custody that are also divulging great amounts of information for the first time, because they now know that President Trump means business. I mean, so yes, I think we're already learning a lot of things. And I think that is driving some of the things that we are seeing the FBI, the Department of Justice doing.
So there's something there. Listen, we're a team, right? Nobody owns this. There's no contracts. Y'all got to let me know when I forget to put up banners for my sponsors and affiliates. So let me throw up Pet Club, because we want to protect our pets as well ourselves. So if you guys ever see that I forget that, all right, somebody be like, hey, Alpha, Crayon Eater, banner. All right, how are we supposed to support you? You ain't putting your sponsors on the bottom of the screen. Terrible at marketing. It's all right, folks. One day we're going to have a big old studio. We're going to have an employee staffs. Can't wait, right? Manifest it, make it happen. Again, I shared this on the show that I did with Ghost on Sunday. The Middle East in 30 minutes ish. That ish is where a lot of the gems are dropped. Can be kind of interesting in the future when we start looking at the operation that happened in Venezuela and the words change from attack to rescue. And I think these are definitely indicators of that. Yeah, leave it at that for now. I have to catch myself sometimes. There's people that share some stuff with me in confidence that also have their own podcasts and their own sources, and they share things with me to make sure that I can add them to my analysis and my assessment. But I also have to remember, is this something that I was clear to, green to share, or is this something I got to wait on? So if you guys ever hear me like, it's not because I don't want to tell you. It's just I got to have respect and be responsible for the people that do share stuff with me. It'll come out eventually. Eric Dowdy says, Justin, President Trump refuses to disclose which American president told him privately, I wish I struck Iran the way you did. I think it's Bill Clinton. Question, was it George W. Bush? Trump? No. Question, was it Bill Clinton? Trump? I don't want to say a member of a party, they have Trump derangement syndrome, but it's somebody that happens to like me. And I like that person. That person said, I wish I did it. I don't want to get into who. I think you probably know. Maybe I could ask him if you want me to reveal his name. So we are talking Bill Clinton here. At least my speculation is we're talking Bill Clinton here. And I don't think we're talking about Iran. I think Trump just signaled to the deep state, your boy is talking. And he's probably saying he wished he did this in the first administration, but we all know this timeline was inevitable to happen this way. But what we're seeing here is my assessment is President Trump is flagging the deep state and letting them know Bill's talking. And I think whether Trump took the opportunity to answer the way he did on Ducey's question, or was this a question that maybe the administration told Ducey, hey, ask the questions you want, but make sure you incorporate this in your questions because we want to make sure we answer it, because they do shit like that, right? They want to make sure that there's information that gets out to the public that maybe the reporters won't ask, or they won't ask the correct way to allow them to expand upon it. I think this is what that was. So, yes. Rock Cuts in the chat says, is Bubba yapping? Yeah, blue dress Bill Clinton is definitely yapping. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is going to set us up for, I believe, the Iran conversation now. Well, before we get into the Iran conversation, this is going to get us into the Fanon section. For those of you that are unfamiliar, it's a 30-second clip. I'm going to play this clip. Don't worry. But the guy in the green Adidas jacket is former Metropolitan Police Officer Michael Fanon. This is the guy that they turned into the poster boy from the quote-unquote victims of January 6th back in 2021. This is Time Life had him on the magazine. I think it was CNN or MSNBC. One of them brought him on for a moment, took a picture on the lawn of the Capitol with a beer cooler, a beer in hand, his dog in a lawn chair, because that's the kind of shit you do when you have PTSD of a location. That alone told everybody that actually knows what PTSD is from something where something traumatic happened, that the dude was full of shit, right? Happy St. Patty's Day, Alpha. Is today St. Patrick's Day? Man, I would have did some like St. Patty's things or something like that. So I knew it was coming up. I just didn't realize it was today. So happy St. Patty's Day if it is. Cat arm out there. Do I have green on? I think I have green on somewhere. I got the green screen. That's close enough. But anyways, Phenome. You guys know how to get me with that squirrel stuff. And Grits Girl Trisha says, yes, dang it, St. Patty's Day. But again, with Phenome, I have a post that we're going to show here. I want to make it very clear, because I got to protect myself legally, that this is speculation and theory when we get to that post. But I want to start generating some critical thinking because I do need help. Better than 2 detective eyes is thousands of detective eyes. And so I will have a call to action for you guys here shortly. But let's play this clip. I want you to hear what this dirtbag has to say.
But this is so obviously about Donald Trump's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein and the fact that there are credible allegations that we've now seen that Donald Trump raped children. And so here we are with this distraction effort at the expense of American lives and American gold. It's just people are they're pissed.
Now ask yourself, why does this dirtbag, Michael Phenome, who most of MAGA, if not all of real MAGA, absolutely hates, why is the rhetoric and the talking points he put out match so many of the I used to be MAGA, I voted for Trump 3 times? Why does his rhetoric and talking points line up with them? I want you guys to think about that. 2, we have 2 Rumble Rants that came in real quick. Dollar for Dollar ZBM says, yes, California is absolutely gorgeous. It has everything a person could possibly want. Move there, guys. Help Alpha make California great again. Don't move to Idaho. It sucks balls and it's tacky as fuck. 100% truth. I see what you did there, ZBM. I agree and disagree. I agree with the parties talking about California, but I have friends that live in Idaho, and Idaho is beautiful. It's actually one of the states that I'm considering, ZBM, because of the value that's out there and just the good feedback that I got from friends that have retired out there. And then $10 coming in from the Boom Diggity. You ain't right, Boom. Money for a calendar for Alpha. Well, yes, it'll be money for a calendar that has like little pictures, because on my monitor there it tells me that today's the 17th. It just, come on, upgrade your stuff, Apple. Like, put a little 4-leaf clover there or something so that I know. And we did have a super chat coming over there on YouTube. Stacy Montoro Morris says, $5 super chat. Need more than IDs. We have IDs in Texas per Doc Chambers. Primaries were compromised with machines. Good aminos recovery. I use Young Living AminoWise. So actually, I've heard of that one, Stacy. And I do agree with you. IDs alone are not going to solve the problem, especially when a lot of IDs have been compromised in places like California, where everybody got a driver's license. And granted, the Real ID does help improve that, but there are still ways that people could have gotten Real IDs, and then all of a sudden that document has expired, but the Real ID hasn't. So I agree completely, Stacy, that we need more than just IDs. However, that is still important. And here's the thing too, folks, the Save America Act. And actually, I'll cover this too, because I didn't tell you at the end of it the way I told you I was. It's not the have-all, end-all. It is a major gut punch against the theft of our elections, but it is not the final solution. My opinion now, subject to change on as things as moves are made, the SAVE Act is not going to pass. Here's the part, though. Trump already knows. That's why he's pushing it so hard. That's why he wants all of us pushing it so hard. He wants everybody to see how much common sense this is. He wants everybody to see how nobody, regardless of party, regardless of political ideology or any ideology, there's no reason for any of us not to want the Save America Act to pass. But it's not going to. You're not going to have the establishment pass an act that is going to remove them. That's like asking a corrupt government to investigate itself, right? So then why does he want everybody to know about it? And this, again, my speculation. So when it doesn't pass, that the court of public opinion is bipartisan on this issue. that everybody's pissed. Everybody's calling their politicians because the next move that he's going to make, and this is on an article that I'm working on it's even longer than What is the Plan article. And I wanted to have it done by yesterday, and I was just in too much pain, folks. So it's put me behind a few days. It's going to explain this because I do believe that there are some scary moments if you don't know what's going on. But I believe that if you do have an idea what's going on, it's not going to be scary at all. You're going to be like, okay, this is part of that process. And what I'm getting to is ultimately what we see Trump doing is using the Insurrection Act and nationalizing elections. And, what some would probably consider the gray area of the Constitution to take it back. And I think some of this will be done through executive order. Some of it will be done through other means. I don't know all the ways that this remedies out. But when Trump does it, he needs to have the court of public opinion on his side. And it's not too far from when that's going to happen, which is why I'm trying to get this article done in a hurry. But just understand that that is my position on this right now. It's not going to pass. He knows it's not going to pass. And that's why he needs us all talking about it. So when he makes the move later, that the court of public opinion is on his side and everybody knows it. So again, because there's a difference between creating chaos and creating controlled kinetic movement. There's a difference. All right, so let's keep going since we're doing with this clown. Breaking. One of the Capitol police officers who was honored in the new January 6th plaque in the Capitol was just indicted on 9 felony charges, including rape and sodomy. Timothy Valentin would allegedly meet women on dating apps, schedule dates, drug them, and then sexually assault them. So you have Fanon talking that garbage against President Trump, crickets against a guy that was on his side of the fence when all that went down. This is the way those people operate. Now, again, this next post I'm bringing up is my game theory. It's speculation. So I want to make sure I put that disclaimer out there. And there's going to be a disclaimer that I read at the end of this too. So here we go. MPD officer Michael Fanon and Seth Rich. Michael Fanon was not just some random beat cop who appeared out of nowhere during the January 6 hearings. He was a Metropolitan police officer who worked plain clothes, undercover, and narcotics, meaning he operated in the kind of world where cops often develop deep exposure to violent offenders, street crews, informants, traffickers, and the criminal ecosystem inside their jurisdiction. Public accounts of his career describe him as a longtime D.C. Metropolitan police officer who worked primarily in plain clothes and undercover narcotics roles, and he did testify before the House January 6 committee in July of 2021. Anyone who has worked gangs, narcotics, or undercover knows exactly what that world looks like. You learn the players, the trigger pullers, the muscle, the brokers, and the people who would make things happen without ever touching the spotlight. How do I know? If you're new to watching this show, because I did that. For 14 and a half years, I worked in law enforcement. For a large portion of that, I worked gangs and undercover. And I'm telling you, if somebody was to come to my sphere during that time and said, hey, stipulation being, some corrupt, dirty cop, right? Like what I believe Fanon is, my opinion, and said, hey, we're going to do this and, we're going to go plan a homicide, but we need to keep our hands clean. Who are some guys that are the trigger pullers? I would know because this is the world that you work in. So that's the point that I'm trying to make there, just in case it was missed. That is what makes the timeline and symbolism interesting to me. During his public testimony tied to the J6 hearings, in photos and footage I reviewed, there are no tattoos on the backs of his wrist and his hands. Later, photos show new tattoos, quote, I'll take the money, and quote, but these fools don't own me. Maybe they mean nothing. Maybe they're personal. Maybe they're about media, politics, or something else entirely. But those are still loaded words for a man who became one of the most public faces of the most politicized event in modern American history. He was put on the cover of Time magazine. Now add the Seth Rich angle. Seth Rich was a 27-year-old Democrat National Committee staffer, specifically the DNC's voter expansion data director, who was shot and killed in Washington, D.C. on July 10, 2016. The Metropolitan Police Department, Fanon's department, still lists the case as unsolved homicide and has publicly sought tips in the case. Why is Seth Rich's name still unknown? Because his murder became tied in the public mind. Two are still known, I'm sorry, to the larger DNC email controversy of 2016. Over the years, numerous public claims and conspiracy theories circulated alleging he had a role in the leak of the DNC materials. But courts and filings tied to defamation litigations describe many of those claims as false allegations and note that authorities publicly described the killing as a botched robbery. Now, here's some inside baseball I'll give you to this. I know one of the people that was sued in this environment. And this person, I'm not even going to say male or female because I don't want to create a headache for them. This person absolutely stands behind the information they had. These lawsuits were to weaponize government and people that have access to government that got big checks to challenging investigators that just can't fight that kind of fight without having that same type of checkbook in their corner. So again, I do think you guys will probably know sometime in the future, at least I hope, who this person is that I'm talking to. And I hope that they get vindication when it comes to this. And this is where the unanswered questions keep the case alive in the public imagination. He was killed in DC. Some of his belongings were reportedly not taken. The homicide remains unsolved. So items like watches and wallets, but it was a robbery. And the case was politicized for years from multiple directions. But as of the public record I found, MPD still listed as unsolved, and I did not find any official public identification of the suspects or charges announced in the murder. And that'll come into another piece later because I know you guys are going to blow me up. But there were two guys that were murdered. Part 2 on that, folks. Just wait. I want to make sure that this piece on itself accomplishes what I hope it does. So naturally, people are going to ask, what money did he take? Who are the fools he was talking about? And we're talking about Fanon's tattoos. And what exactly does he mean when he says they don't own me? If the money was clean, symbolic, or harmless, fine, then say what it meant. But when someone with an undercover narcotics background, deep exposure to the DC criminal and political environment, and a starring role in the J6 narrative permanently marks those words on his body, people are going to read into it. Remember, became friends with Pelosi, shaking hands with Biden. Like this guy was in with these people. To be absolutely clear, I am not alleging Michael Fanon was involved in Seth Rich's murder or any criminal act. I don't have that evidence yet. I am saying that his background, his exposure to that world, the timing, the message of those tattoos create optics that invite scrutiny, questions, and speculation. Have the Democrats ever tried to protect any illegals from other countries tied to any extreme foreign gangs? I think you guys can think of a couple. Did they go to extreme measures to protect these illegal gang members? Why would a Democrat go to such lengths, like traveling all the way to South America to meet with them? Hope you guys are catching what I'm saying. To be continued. Disclaimer, this is a game theory, speculation, and opinion based on publicly visible appearances, public background information, and my own review of the photos. It is not an accusation, not a statement of fact, and not a claim of criminal wrongdoing against anyone. So with that, let me put this onto the screen so you guys can see it. So again, if you don't know who Seth Rich is, he's the one with the American outfit in the top left. What does Fanon know about Seth Rich's murder? You see Fanon throwing up the middle finger. That was, I believe, during the time, if I'm correct, that might have been when Ivan and him had the fallout. I could be wrong on that. To the top right, you see when Fanon was pictured in the Time Life magazine. And again, on the bottom left, you see Fanon covering his mouth with his right wrist. These are Officer Fanon's hands while testifying about January 6th. No tattoos. And then if you go to the center photo, what you'll see here is Fanon shaking hands with President Biden. And you'll see that right hand now has the tattoo, "I'll take the money." And then let me switch myself to the other side. Actually, I'll just take myself off the screen and go full screen with this, so you guys can see his other hand that reads, "But these fools don't own me." So again, I'll take the money, but these fools don't own me. Folks, this is a much bigger deal than a lot of people want to take issue with. I don't ignore it. I think that there's something here, whether that was, him you know, that whether that's his kill switch on if you guys don't protect me, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag, or his ego to be determined. But I think people need to start asking questions. I said I had a call to action on this. I do. I need you guys to all get as much information, legally, of course, as you can on Fanone's employment with Metropolitan PD, his assignments, what those assignments look like, and if he did any operations with neighboring jurisdictions. That's the first one. The second call to action, I need all of you to start doing FOIA requests for information surrounding Seth Rich's murder. I also need you guys all to professionally and legally start inquiring with Metropolitan PD. What's the status of this case? Hey, have you asked any of your officers that worked in undercover narcotics or undercover gangs, or not even undercover, just narcotics and gangs? Did you ask any of them, are they aware of the motive of Seth Rich's murder and any gangs that might have had motive to do that? Do they have any homicides that were botched in similar style that maybe could have looked like an assassination? Like, you guys get what I'm trying to say here? I need for us to make this something that we're all talking about again. And I can't do that on my own. I need you guys to help me with that. And again, I need you to do it in a very professional and legal manner. All right. I don't want Metropolitan PD saying we're getting all these people that are calling us and calling us assholes because we haven't solved all this stuff. There may be very innocent people there, folks. Again, that's why I'm saying be professional and do it legally, but start to inquire. Become citizen journalists and help me bring Seth Rich's investigation into this. Again, don't make any accusations because I'm not doing that here. I'm just trying to provide us an opportunity to do some critical thinking. All right, so let's carry on. Now let's get into what's going on with Iran. Jay puts, President Trump just posted that Iran has plans to take over the Middle East. Those plans are no more. Before the fake news says that isn't true, here's Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in 2019 calling Iran the new Nazi regime wishing to conquer the Middle East. And I do have this for you guys, so let me hit play.
I've seen that you called the Ayatollah Khamenei the new Hitler of the Middle East.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because he wants to expand. He wants to create his own project in the Middle East, very much like Hitler, who wanted to expand at the time. Many countries around the world and in Europe did not realize how dangerous Hitler was until what happened happened. I don't want to see the same events happening in the Middle East.
Does Saudi Arabia need nuclear weapons to counter Iran?
Saudi Arabia does not want to acquire any nuclear bomb. But without a doubt, if Iran developed a nuclear bomb, we will follow suit as soon as possible.
Again, with all the people pushing rhetoric that there's no reason, Iran's not a threat, we're just getting started. We're going to try to fly through this because I'm looking at the clock. Next, White House, Operation Epic Fury. One mission, clear objectives, and I will let you guys hear this for yourselves.
We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated.
One, destroy their missile stockpiles, their missile launchers, and their defense industrial base. Missiles and their ability to make them.
Number one, we are going to destroy their missiles and their missile launchers. We are going to destroy their capability to make these missiles and these launchers.
Number one, destroy the regime's deadly ballistic missiles and completely raze their missile industry to the ground.
Continue to destroy Iranian ballistic missiles and drone capability in order to prevent attacks on the U.S. and others throughout the region. And this means attacking launch sites, command and control nodes, stockpiles before they can threaten our personnel, our facilities, and our partners.
Addressing the ability of the Islamic Republic to project military power against, of course, us, our bases, our forces, etc., as well as our allies and partners in the region and beyond. And that's primarily the missile forces of the Islamic Republic, which had obviously been growing substantially and posed a very serious threat to all of those equities that I just mentioned, as well as the ability to produce that.
No massive shield with which they're going to hide behind of both short-range ballistic missiles, long-range, and drones.
Again, what's one of the purposes of that video and why did I share it with you guys? There's a lot of rhetoric being pushed by MAGA pretenders, fake MAGA, the infiltrators. Trump hasn't even told us what our objectives is. Trump hasn't even told us what we're trying to do out there. And there's all these just useful idiots, right, that are reposting that. Yeah, Trump hasn't. How many times do you need to hear? They were very, very clear about some of our objectives, the ones that they will state publicly. Again, I want you guys to see this and hear this for yourself. So when you're in the information battle zone, you guys have the information, are armed with the information to say, no, that's baloney. I've seen the Secretary of War talk about it. I've seen Rubio talk about it. I've seen the press secretary talk about it. I've seen the VP talk about it. I've seen the president talk about it. I see General King talking about it. On and on and on and on. But the other reason is so that you guys can start registering that these people that you used to like, that used to think that were on your team because they wore the red hat, because they claim that they voted for Trump, that these people are actively lying to you. These are not mistakes. They're actively lying to you. Let's keep going on because I want to make sure we cover this Iran part. I don't want us to miss out on that. And we're most likely going to have to do a part 2 because we got a lot. If you can see on the screen, there's still a lot there. Inside Paper says, breaking, Trump declares America has won the Iran war. Now, let me grab this one for you.
Paducah. And as we take decisive action to stop the threat posed by the terrorist regime in Iran with Operation Epic Fury. Is that a great name? Well, it's only good if you win. You know, you can only do. And we've won. Let me tell you, we've won. You know, you never like to say too early you won. We won. We won the bet. In the first hour, it was over.
And I'm sure you guys saw on the board there 17 hours. I'm sure those things just slide in there. But it's important. Why are Trump and them doing these moto videos? And we'll talk about a few of those when we get into the, Cube, Back to the Future and comms. But I do want to touch on it right now. And it's because I haven't been saying it as much as I was in the earlier part of this year, 2026. Morale is a what? Morale is a weapon. And people forget, especially doomers and black pillars, and some of them I think do it intentionally. If you could destroy a military group's morale, you can beat them in a war. If you destroy a population's morale, you can enslave them. Am I saying that we should not question Trump in this administration? Absolutely not. That is not only is it our right, but it is our moral and civic duty to do that. But it needs to be done in a responsible way. Quote unquote questioning, and I'm just being concerned in the absence of recognition and praise for other things, is not asking questions. That's an agenda. People that are truly asking questions because they're truly concerned will say, hey, Trump, I see we're making this move on Cuba. And I'm concerned, like, what business do we have going after Cuba? Like, you need to make this, articulate this to us so we can be on board with you, but I recognize, hey, we did good in Venezuela, which turned into this. I recognize what you've done with our borders. I recognize that deeming the cartels as foreign narco terrorists. You've been doing all these things that are great and I align with. I'm not able to put that with this. That's someone that is being sincere. That's somebody that's looking at something objectively and being like, hey, I don't understand this. I need to make sense. That's a hell of a lot different than someone that says, why are we attacking Iran? Doesn't mention anything else. Why are we attacking Venezuela? Doesn't mention it. And you go through the history of their social media or their alt media, and they've never given credit to the administration for anything. No, those are people that want to capitalize on the facts that in active operations, your administration and your War Department are not going to talk about that to maybe the specifics a lot of us need. And they take advantage by plugging in doubt and despair in the absence of information that can't be given because it can affect the operation. And I do believe you guys are smart enough to understand that. And I will talk about that. And that will always be my position. I come from someone who actually does and has lived in the life of being a part of operations, planning operations, and so on. And I will use my expertise and the authority of what I learned from that to make sure that people, even people with good intentions, because they can fall victim to this, people with good intentions can still subvert the president and this administration by being irresponsible about the way they conduct themselves or share their opinions. Now, I will never say that they can't, because this is America. But what I will say is my voice of reason will always be here to counter that, regardless of enemy or friend. Let's carry on. Pete Heck says, Secretary of War, on day 10 of Operation Epic Fury, we are winning with an overwhelming and unrelenting focus on our objectives. They are straightforward, and we are executing them with ruthlessness and precision. Destroy their missile stockpiles, their missile launchers, and their defense industrial base, missiles and their ability to make them. Destroy their navy, permanently deny Iran nuclear weapons forever. Again, we'll bypass on that video to save some time here. It's just going to reiterate what I read to you there from his, from this post right here. But for those that want to say there's no clear objectives, doesn't get any more clear than that. Wow. Paul Bagala is getting eaten alive for lying about Secretary of War. This I'm going to let you guys listen to, because this is disgusting right here.
He has spent $15 million in 1 month for ribeye steaks, $6.9 million for lobster tail, $225 million for furniture. He spent more in the month of September than most countries on earth spend in their defense.
Paul, do you believe
all for himself? Lobster tails?
Do you believe
while our troops are eating MREs?
No.
Do
you believe the Secretary of Defense is personally eating all the lobster?
Well, he
It's
can't
for
eat
the
16.
Troops.
Oh, really? The troops are getting lobster.
Frequently.
Brothers Defect has steak and lobster. How's your steak and lobster? All right. Damn, you're decent. How's yours? I'm ready for war. We're going to war.
My God.
Troops who are going to war.
Oh, my God.
Great meal. You know that.
They're getting lobster. You are so full of it.
Killed over this.
You are
You're
so
going to get killed
full of
over
it.
this. Internet, do something.
I might have to double it. I had to run it back.
For those that are unfamiliar with military culture, before going to war, a real big mission, or unfortunately hard to say, missions where men might not be coming back, it is culture for the military to give us a warrior's meal. And you heard what that guy said. These are people that don't know what the F they are talking about. And again, these guys are going to be separated from their families. Some of them are leaving parents that are ill. Some of them are leaving wives that are pregnant. Some of them are leaving, wives that just had newborns. Some of them are leaving with a lot of things that they need to be home and present for, but they signed a contract and they got a duty. And this is the rhetoric that some of the left will push. This disgusting, at least. Now there's a lot of people out there telling you, Iran's not a threat. Iran's proxies is not a threat. The Muslim Brotherhood, that's Israeli propaganda. There are people out there, including some of my friends, that are retarded and think that. James Woods posts this, and we're going to get a few of these. In case you've been in a coma, our issue is not just Palestine. Our issue is killing every non-Muslim. We will pursue Jews and Christians all over the world. Either they convert to Islam or we'll kill them. This is what these people think. That is a translation from that video. But think about all the people out there that want to tell you, we just need to focus on the curly sideburns, which Mossad and Israeli intelligence is a concern. I'm not going to dismiss it as it's not. That pisses the other half of the people, right? One group says I'm getting paid $7,000 from Bibi. The other group says you're anti-Semitic, right? So I must be doing something right if I piss everybody off. But again, yes, the Muslim Brotherhood and these terrorist cells are absolutely a threat. Right here, breaking. The FBI just confirmed that the Old Dominion University students in Virginia killed the Islamic attacker with no firearms, all by themselves. The law enforcement official was impressed. I don't know if impressed would be the word. Shocked, I definitely would agree with. Quote, the students who subdued him rendered him no longer alive. I don't know how else to say it. They basically were able to terminate the threat. Question. He was not shot? FBI. He was not shot. Those dudes are badass heroes. For those of you wondering, well, how in the world did they kill him? As I understand it, and with some of the reportings coming out, is a whole lot of punctures. So again, they dealt with the threat. So hats off to those warriors. Iran's new supreme leader is in a coma and has lost a leg after being seriously injured in airstrikes, a report has claimed. There's that update. That was 5 days ago when that one got reported. Some people were saying that he was 10-7 or that he's kicked the bucket. I think the more accurate reporting is that he's been injured. If somebody has an update of that, you want to share that link, please do. Next, we got Insane. This is coming out of Canada. Scenes as Melissa Lantzman explains that hundreds of IRGC terrorists are using Canada as a base because of their soft touch immigration policy. She looks terrified they've ruined Canada. I will remind you, Canada is on our back door to the north, while Mexico is on our porch to the south. Think about the placement of the cartels by the globalists and by the CCP in China, and think about how close we are to these imminent threats that all these fake MAGAs want to tell you doesn't exist. And I think I do have this audio for you to listen to. I do. Here you go.
There have always been conflicts abroad, and rarely have we seen them spill into our streets the way that we have since this liberal government has been in power. We now know from the Iranian community right across the country, from many others, that there are hundreds of IRGC agents presently on Canadian soil, using Canada as a safe haven to organize and to fundraise and to terrorize diaspora communities right here at home. We have seen now critics of the Iranian regime from out west, an investigation now being treated as a homicide, somebody who is critical of that regime. We see constantly, and particularly as an MP from a region who represents many in that community, on a weekly basis, those calls coming into our office, informing MPs and at all levels of government, including authorities, that they are terrified of living within their own communities. The hundreds of agents that are here today live in Canada with complete impunity, and we have a Liberal government that has done absolutely nothing to stop it. We've seen violence against businesses, gunshots into Iranian activist businesses. We've seen terrorism in the Jewish community. We now are amongst nations that lead the world in attacks against Jewish institutions. Today, we are calling on the government to table a plan to get rid of these terrorists that are on Canadian soil.
That is our neighbors to the north, folks. That's our back door. That's the patio. This next video is going to address the threat closer to me personally at our southern border. This comes from George Ventura Media. I should get him on the show. Here in Tijuana, Mexico, sources tell me this Islamic mosque behind me, just 2 blocks away from the U.S. border, should be a national security concern. What's he talking about? Let's take a listen to what George has to say.
I just arrived here in Tijuana, Mexico for our national security story on Iranian sleeper cells, but also special interest aliens like Chinese nationals and more from other countries in the Middle East. Now, right behind me is this Islamic mosque that has caused national security concerns. I've been speaking with Mexican and American law enforcement sources saying that some of the individuals that stopped at this mosque before getting aided by Mexican cartels to cross illegally into the United States actually were harbored here between 1 to 30 days. What I just did right now is I just did interview some of the migrants that were outside of this mosque. Some of them have actually only been here for a week from East Africa. One of them did confirm that one of the individuals at this mosque is from Iran, so that individual must have arrived quite shortly or just recently. And they did deny an interview. We tried to get an interview with the director. They denied, and we did put in some requests request before we actually arrived today, and were denied. And speaking to some of my sources, they say that some of the men here in the past, especially under the Biden years, were special interest aliens and had ties to terror groups. They were essentially harbored here, and then eventually they were crossed illegally into the United States, where many of them were directed to destroy their identification or just throw away and disregard passports and things like that. That's what Corey with GOAT Initiative on the American side, he's been able to collect and then link some of those individuals to this mosque here. Once again, this is just a couple of blocks away from the American border. One has to wonder if this is on the radar of law enforcement, especially right now because the United States is at war. And I was able to confirm with one of the individuals, at least one of the individuals staying at this mosque right now is from Iran. So that individual must have arrived recently. So stay tuned for our full report here from Tijuana, Mexico, and the American side on national security on Iranian and Chinese sleeper cells, potentially in the United States, as this terrorism threat is real.
That's about 2 hours from where I'm at, folks. Maybe 2.5 with traffic. I do believe our military and federal law enforcement and local law enforcement are tapped into this. Some of this I know from friends that I'm communicating with. Now, are they aware of this one specifically? If they weren't, they are now. I'll leave it at that. But again, all those people that want to tell you that bringing attention to the Muslim Brotherhood or to some of these other threats from other terrorist organizations throughout the world, like in this case, East Africa, remember, there are people that don't want you to talk about this. There are people that are pissed that I'm showing stuff like this on my show. That, trust me, I'm routinely getting tagged or you're trying to distract people. They want you to think that this is a distraction. This is an imminent threat to America and America's sovereignty. And they want you to think that it's a conspiracy theory. Now ask yourself, are these people truly fighting for American sovereignty by telling you AIPAC, 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 AIPAC? Or are they trying to get us all just to be like, yes, you know, AIPAC really does have an influence on our government, because it does. And we need to remove that now, because we do. And then all of a sudden, because we only addressed one threat in that vacuum, that absence of removing that apparatus, now what do you think gets plugged in? The one they didn't want you talking about, whether it be the CCP, whether it be the Muslim Brotherhood. For some of you, I know that sounds like a broken record because I talk about that at length, and I will continue to do so because we do have new people that are watching this show, and it's important that people understand that anybody that is not trying to get you to recognize and address all the threats that exist to the United States of America is pushing an agenda, or they're retarded. Neither one is a benefit to this country. So just understand there's multiple threats. I mean, essentially, we are surrounded, and we have to be able to multitask when it comes to our threat assessment. So I'll keep pushing on. David Harris Jr. puts, in the middle of Dearborn, Michigan, an entire crowd shouts, "Death to America." This is not overseas, folks. This is in our country.
Not a great look. The mayor condemned it. The White House condemned it. But what about Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib? She reps Dearborn. Is she okay with her constituents chanting "Death to America"? Fox Business correspondent Hillary Vaughn asked her. Watch.
Congresswoman Tlaib.
Fox News. I don't talk to Fox News.
At a rally in your district, people were chanting "Death to America." Do you condemn?
Talk to Fox News.
But do you condemn chants of "Death to America"?
I don't talk to people that use racist tropes.
Why can't you just say whether or not you condemn people chanting "Death to America"? Why are you afraid to talk to Fox?
Fox News is not listen, using racist tropes towards my community is what Fox News is about, and I don't talk to Fox News.
Is "Death to America" racist?
Fox News.
Is chanting "Death to America" racist?
I'm talking about your guys' racist tropes. You know, you guys know exactly what you do. And I know you're Islamophobic, but you guys got to go deal with it on your own self. You're not going to use me.
That is a government official, folks. All she had to say was, yeah, absolutely condemn it. And I think you guys are racist. Like, she could have still made her point. He refused. This is an American politician, granted, a Democratic one, but this is an American politician that refuses to denounce chants of death to America. But here's the crazy thing, because you'd be like, oh, you know, it's somebody that's infiltrated government. You have Americans in these virtual town halls of Twitter called X, because I battle them all the time. They hate me. I freaking love it. I'm glad they hate me. When I tell them, is Hamas a terrorist organization? Blah, 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 blah. Is the Houthis a terrorist organization? Blah, 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 blah. Is Hezbollah a terrorist organization? They won't admit it. They won't. But they got no problem saying American soldiers are out there conquering lands and killing innocent people. They got no problem saying that. But they won't condemn actual or denounce actual terrorist organizations. Recognize these people, folks, because we are in information warfare. Let's keep pushing on. I'm keeping my eye on the clock. Monica Matthews on air. Shout out, longtime friend there. Ban Islam, close mosques, in funding channels. Get it out now, or you will lose it all in a few years to come. This is not phobic. It's historical fact. Here's the thing, folks. People need to be afraid of being called racist. Islam is not compatible with Western culture. Period. Whoever that offends, I'm sorry, but it is the truth. That's not opinion. Go read Sharia law. It's not compatible with our culture. Let's take a listen to this, because it's worse than just not being compatible.
Now that the people of America are standing for you, will you share with them the light and the beauty and the majesty of Islam, or will you stay in hiding? Tell the young people to continue to study, to prepare themselves to become the doctors, the lawyers, the engineers, to become the mayor, the police chief, the leaders of Congress, and those that were born in America. Prepare yourself to be America's next president. Share with the people of Minnesota the words of the Quran, the wisdom of the Prophet, and the beauty of our community, because this is your moment of grace. You have to make up your mind today as Muslims in Minnesota. What is your position in defending the lives and the future of your people? Nobody asks you to be violent. You don't have to be violent. Your weapon is your faith. Your strength is your unity. And you must quickly engage the American people, especially the people of Minnesota. We just elected a Muslim to be the mayor of New York. That's the home of 9/11. And those that are in opposition to Islam, they're watching the growth and the development of the Muslim community, and it scares them. You know why? Not because you're a threat. No. They think you're about to replace those of privilege of the days of old. They see the Muslims as their replacement. And to be honest with you, we are their replacement. We are, as they would say, the new kids on the block. And this is our moment.
Who's got questions? Call me Islamophobic. Pardon my French, I don't give a fuck. My daughters are not going to grow up under Sharia law. My kids are not going to grow up with people that want to say they're the replacement. And folks, if some of you don't develop a backbone and gain some courage to start using your words to let people know you're not okay with this, then you're part of the reason of why we'll lose this country. We got a lot of people watching right now, over 2,000 people watching live on Rumble, over 2,500 people watching live on the other platforms. I mean, we're near 5,000 people watching live, and I don't care if these numbers dwindle down to 100. If you lack the courage to fight for America, or if you're a patriot from another country and you lack the courage to fight for your own country, to speak up against tyranny, to speak up against other cultures that are trying to take over, then you're the reason your country is losing. And here in America, y'all better wake up before it's too late. Again, we got more threats to this nation than just the people with curly sideburns. If that wasn't enough, we got a couple. We will replace the Constitution with the Quran. Listen for yourself.
What we as Muslims want to implement here in the United States, we believe the Constitution should be replaced by the Quran.
First move that I will do, I will abolish the Constitution and I will establish the only logical and rational Constitution, which is the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Now here's the crazy part. The people that absolutely hate me, hi, I know you're watching, will come out and tell people, the guys that Alpha's showing you on these video clips, the last guy was giving that statement, that speech at the Al-Farouk Center. That's Israeli propaganda. I shit you not. I shit you not. Literally, these things are happening in mosque, their Farouk Center, Al-Farouk Center, and they're telling you, no, Muslim Brotherhood is not a threat. That's Israeli propaganda. So, the guy saying that the mayor of New York City, that's good. What that Mossad did that? What's going on in Dearborn, Michigan? What, Mossad did that? Over, what's it, 75? I actually think it's over 100 now. Mosque in Texas. Mossad did that? Listen, you'll get me to subscribe to the idea that the intelligence agencies help facilitate it. We'll line up on that one. But these are still Islamic extremists that are pushing what the intelligence apparatus, grew synthetically. Like, we'll agree there. Again, folks, this threat is very real. Let's carry on. Keeping the eye on the clock. The RGC is flooding X and Instagram and TikTok with AI-generated propaganda. Has been since February 28. Take a look at this.
It's remarkable. The U.S. and Iran are engaged in an online information warfare. You have Iran state media and you have pro-Iran accounts sharing stuff like this. Take a look at this video. It is AI generated. It's a fake video, and it shows Iranian missiles striking the city of Tel Aviv with sounds of explosions. There's also this AI generated video posted by Iran's state media, Press TV, appearing to show a skyscraper engulfed in flames after a drone hit. The morphing cars across the street outed it as a fake. Iranian state media Tasnim News posted this AI-generated apocalyptic fire said to be at the U.S. base in Erbil, Iraq. Iran even claimed this AI-generated Star Wars-looking image is the largest U.S. radar in the Persian Gulf destroyed by its missiles. Experts at the Institute of Strategic Dialogue tell us fake content is getting millions of views, particularly in the Middle East.
This is not targeted at a domestic audience. The Iranian population is largely shut off from the internet. They want to provoke a sense that Iranian capabilities sort of far extend beyond what we've actually seen so far, that the damage is much greater.
Yeah, so CENTCOM is aggressively fighting back, posting fact checks online, even in Farsi, calling Iran out for its blatant lies, claiming it killed hundreds of American soldiers, successfully shot down an F-15, or even claiming it sunk the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier with ballistic missiles. The regime claimed at one point it resurfaced and was struck again. Now, CENTCOM posted multiple fact checks with images of the Lincoln operating just fine and calling Iran out on that lie. Now, CENTCOM tells us Iran's misinformation campaign, Carly, isn't about quality, it is about quantity. Flooding the zone to create perception they hope becomes reality.
Again, now, granted, we are seeing Elon make some moves in the Twitterverse world of their, what's the word I'm trying to look for? They're going to be removing some of the, I think it's temporary. I think it's a suspension. I don't want to say that they're actually removing them from the platform. But people that are in the ad share revenue, which I'm part of that over there on X, that if they're caught putting up this propaganda of AI stuff to make it look like American vessels or troops are getting hurt, they're getting suspended. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's temporary. I don't think it's permanent. they're getting suspended from that. So it's kind of disincentivizing or creating a consequence for people that try to push propaganda. And I think that's a good thing. Actually, to be honest, I think it should work both ways. I think even if you're putting out, fake military strikes against our enemies and it's not real, I think Elon should start creating consequence for putting out, fake videos and stuff like that. That's not identified as parody or something like that, because it is a very sensitive time where it impacts people. But nonetheless, we are seeing some moves that are there. But again, this is that operation. This is, yes, it's showing that there's this aspect of it. But the other thing to consider is when you zoom out, it shows the funding that's behind this. So are these voices that we hear in these spaces, some of the people that are not happy campers with me, that don't want to call Hamas and the Houthis and Hezbollah terrorist organizations and only want to attack the U.S. military, are these people being funded? Could be. We have a Rumble rant and a super chat that came in, so let's get to those real quick, folks. Over there on Rumble, $1 for $1 ZBM. The founders saw this incompatibility even then. Thomas Jefferson's campaign slogan was, quote, "Millions in defense before a cent in tribute," end quote. Our Navy was founded solely on fighting barbarian pirates. I like that, ZBM. Go look that up. I want to read a little bit more on that. And then, holy smokes, $100 super chat coming in from Soar047. Damn. That is the biggest super chat I've ever had on YouTube. Holy smokes, man. Thanks. Thank you guys. Let's keep pushing on because I want to make sure we clear this section up before we shift gears. My brother Josh, who I'll be on the air here with in less than an hour. Sleeper cells. We know where most of them are. Trump. Remember what we said about Tom Homan's team from last year. And if you guys remember, this is something that we were talking about on DEF CON. Let's take a listen to our president.
They try to hit us back. Have you been briefed about how many Iran sleeper cells there could be inside the U.S. right now?
I have been, and a lot of people came in through Biden with this stupid open border. But we know where most of them are. We've got our eye on all of them, I think.
Is it dozens?
They came in through the open border policies of Sleepy Joe Biden, one of the worst president in the history of our country. And we've got our eyes on all of them. But the war itself is being prosecuted at a level that nobody's seen before. It's pretty amazing to watch.
Now, we know where most of them are. This goes into what me and Josh were talking about for quite some time now, even before Venezuela ever kicked off. This goes all the way back to actually the beginning portion of 2025. And to kind of remind everybody, in case you are new to this channel, thank you, welcome. Do me all solid while you're here. Over 2,000 people watching live on Rumble and a big audience on YouTube. If you guys can hit the heart, hit the thumb, leave a comment, and even more than that, share the link out to this. Definitely would appreciate that. But if we go back to early 2025, one of the things that I noticed right out of the gate, and this will be in this article that I'll be dropping on Substack in the next few days, and it will be a free article for those that are curious, alphawarrior.substack, is he took control of the border within, some say first 3 days, definitely within the first week, shut down to, somewhere between 97 and 98% with the presence of the U.S. military. But then he kept stacking more military and more military and more military at our southern border. Now, human trafficking, drug trafficking, and the immigration crisis was literally halted, but he kept building his military force. This is one of the first things that popped up on my radar where I was just like, okay, there is a threat here that is not being shared publicly, but that's absolutely in line with the units that President Trump is moving to the southern border. Now, what we do know is, we know it because we've had some information that's become public now, is we know that on the military level and on the federal level, our guys have infiltrated everything from the King's protests to Antifa to BLM. It's how these guys are getting caught. It's how Trump's getting ahead of their locations before they even get there. Like, we know that this counter infiltration, right? This undercover work is happening. So think about that when it comes to these sleeper cells. We know where most of them are. This is a combination of two different things. It's us infiltrating them with some of the bravest warriors that go and doing that undercover work. I've never done something to that capacity. But it's also with the intelligence that we're getting from other countries. countries that maybe we've been told are enemies. What are you talking about, Alpha? I don't know. Let's take a listen to this clip. MAGA Voice reports, holy shit. President Trump stuns the world by saying President Vladimir Putin wants to be helpful in the Middle East war. Everybody siding with America, but Alpha, no, Putin. We were told Putin's the enemy. Russia's the enemy. They want to nuke us. Take a listen.
Can you tell us more about your call with Russian President Vladimir Putin today?
Yes.
What did you discuss?
Yes, I had a very good call with President Putin. We had a lot of people on the line from our side, from his side. We were talking about Ukraine, which is just a never-ending fight. And look, there's tremendous hatred between President Putin and President Zelensky. They can't seem to get it together. But I think it was a positive call on that subject. And we obviously talked then about the Middle East. And he wants to be helpful. I said, you could be more helpful by getting the Ukraine-Russia war over with. That would be more helpful. But we had a very good talk, and he wants to be very...
So, if you've been listening to me and Josh, we called this one out a while ago. So this post was from March the 9th. So what's that? 8 days ago, if I'm doing Marine Corps math correctly, is going back to, we know Trump was getting intelligence on Iran, and we know Iran was moving. We know that, or at least we have strong information to suggest, and I think this would confirm it to beyond suggestion, that Trump has been working with getting information to the civilian government of Iran and vice versa, the Iran civilian government to Trump, location of some of the IRGC and the military apparatus, you know, the stuff to make sure that they have the ability to take over their country, right? Well, I don't think those have been direct conversations between Trump to the civilian government in Iran. I think that these have been conversations that have been facilitated by Putin. And this goes into the conversation. President Trump's going to be meeting on a second thought 3, getting ahead of me. I like this. This is what I'm talking about. You guys don't need me no more. He says DJT postponed meeting with Xi. That meeting with Xi is coming up, folks. You know, the head of China. We're going to probably see some moves that are going to bring it into the Ukraine war and the Iran war in very close proximity to each other, if not the same day. Just going to put that out there. And if you want to put the cherry on top, Jackson Hinkle, traitor to America, puts out this post. And this goes back, if you missed the early part of the show, you know, when Trump made the comment to the Peter Doocy response to his question, is the president that made that comment, he wished he talked to Iran, was that Bush? Trump's like, no. What was it, Clinton? Trump's like, I don't want to say. And I said, Trump's definitely talking. Remember that. And if you, like I said, if you came to the show late, you want to make sure you want the first half. It's going to make this part hit even more. Listen to what dark, evil Hillary has to say.
I think all of that is a very good signal that there is beginning to be a better understanding, both by the president and the people around him, as well as by the leaders of our European allies, that there can be common ground amongst us. And the kind of dismissiveness that we saw in the first Trump administration has been replaced by a much more obvious working relationship to the good of European security, transatlantic security, and hopefully Ukrainian security. So I'm actually encouraged.
Yes, folks, you heard that right. Mrs. Because you would be in jail. Remember when Trump told her that? Is saying what needs to be heard. Now, why is this important? I know a lot of people are probably not going to like this position with me, will probably disagree with this position with me, and that's okay. I just want to create some critical thinking here and just a different perspective. Right now, as we're in this information war, unity is not a priority from my position, what my role is, right? It's getting the truth out there and preventing other people from creating chaos, destroying morale, and creating a world of despair, right? Like, that's my mission. But why is this important? Yes, we want Hillary Clinton for all the evil atrocities that she's been a part of. Everybody just wants to see her in Gitmo been found guilty of treason and swing from the gallows, right? That's what everybody wants. Because it's vindication, right? We told you so. But what's more important at this moment is there's an audience that's never going to listen to me. There's an audience that's never going to listen to Trump. Yes, you guys are the advanced Americans, the advanced Anons. You guys know what's going on behind the curtain. You guys, if you're here watching and listening to this podcast, is because you know there's more than meets the eye to this information war. We are the minority, though. The vast majority of Americans are still watching Mockingbird Media. They're still tuned into MSNBC, The View, the Five, Fox. They will never get the information that we're presenting. So how do you get that audience to start being, well, okay, maybe what Trump's doing is not so bad? You get people like Hillary to make these statements because there's millions of people that love her. Right? That's how that makes me feel. But that's the truth. And what you're seeing here is remove emotions. What you're seeing here is the deployment of ops to create that environment. Whether some people like it or don't, this is what we're witnessing. At least this is my assessment of it. Do I think Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are going to walk free? Absolutely not. I think that their participation in what we're seeing here, my speculation is they've probably negotiated a deal where maybe they spend life in prison but avoid, death penalty for treason. I actually think that's what we'll probably end up seeing. So again, I know that's not the perspective a lot would like to hear, but it's also me being very honest on my assessment of this. Now, let's see. China. Actually, this is a good part to break here. So there's going to be two parts, folks. So I'm going to bring this part one to a conclusion. Now, here's something I want to ask you guys. I need you guys to leave this in the chat for me. And then, like I said, I'll bring up the Rumble rants for everybody to see, and I'll give you guys my closing thoughts and stuff here. I really like doing the show early. I dig it. We're over 2,000 people on Rumble, over 2,500 people on the other platforms. If you guys love the show at this hour, then maybe I figure a way to make this happen. So let me know in the comments. So a couple things. Remember, if you're pro tariffs, if you're not tariffs, leave me a comment. Definitely make sure you do that. But also in the comments, if you like the conversations with Just Alpha at this earlier hour, let me know. And so to continue to test this, we will run tomorrow's part 2. And what we're going to be covering in part 2, which is the second half of tonight's show, is in 7:30 p.m. Eastern, just so everybody knows, is we're going to be moving into the China apparatus into this. We're going to get into the Q Back to the Future and QComs. And then we're going to get into why does that all matter to what's going on with Cuba, what's going on with some other parts of South America. I'm going to make all that kind of make sense in a clear picture for you guys. And then that's going to bring us into, are we looking at Shills? Are we looking at operations? And is there evidence to support either or? And ultimately, you guys have to make that decision. I'll just present the argument. And then we're going to wrap it up with where our military actually is at the moment in terms of leadership. And I think you guys are going to absolutely love my final take on that. The other thing is you're like, but DEF CON doesn't start for 30 minutes. I know, but my back is stiff like you don't understand right now. And I needed to spend the next 20 minutes walking around because I got another 2-hour show with you guys starting in 30 minutes. So if you're not aware and this is the first time watching this, go to Badlands in 30 minutes at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. And me and Josh will be doing DEF CON 0. Also a live show. I think you guys will like that. So in 30 minutes, that's going to start. So let me go full screen with me real quick. Pull that off the screen. And we got some Rumble rats that came in. Dollar for dollar ZBM. Alpha, look up U.S. Navy founding on the Fat Electricians channel. Has some good history about the Marines too. Cheers from shitty Idaho. You ain't gonna make no one believe that, ZVM. We know it ain't shitty. And then we got, damn, $100 coming in from Jules 1533. Freaking Benjamin, man. Thanks, Alpha, for all the work you put into getting this information to us. Much appreciated. Man, you guys took care of me tonight. Like, wow. Wow. You guys rock, seriously. And I think that clears us up from all the super chats. We're all covered. So I shared the super chats. Super chats. I can't even talk right now. I shared the super chats on the screen. So let me give some love to all the people that contributed on the Rumble Rants, because I want to make sure they get some on-screen love too for supporting this channel and allowing me to continue to do my work. So again, there you have everybody from Rumble side that dropped the Rumble Rant. So thank you guys. God bless you guys for taking care of my channel. So remember, tomorrow night, part 2 of tonight's show, 10:30 p.m. I'm sorry, 7:30. I was giving the old time. 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Now, some of you are saying, but tomorrow's Operation Gladio. Man upstairs, Divine. During the show, I got a message from the Colonel. She's on vacay. So I don't want to make her work while she's on vacay. That woman works hard, relentlessly. And this kind of works into me completing this show. So no Operation Gladio tomorrow. Okay, we will resume Operation Gladio again next week. So tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, and y'all do the math. If you're somewhere in between, will be Just Alpha Part 2. Now, here's the other thing that I'd like to get your guys' input on. A 2.5 hour show is much more manageable to me, 2 hours to 2.5 hours. So one thing that I'm considering right now, just on this experience, is doing Just Alpha on Monday, a part 1, and running the show for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and then doing part 2 on Tuesday for the same thing, maybe 2 hours, and doing my guest shows, because Tuesdays I usually reserve for my guests, maybe moving our guest show for either an early Thursday or a Friday. So if you guys are cool with seeing back-to-back Alpha on Just Alpha conversations, a part 1 and a part 2, instead of us all having, because some of you are warriors. Listen, we'll be up till 2 in the morning on a 5-hour show, right? If you guys are good with that, let me know in the comments. I am one of those guys that actually does go through the comments. So the other thing I want to do is make sure that we close out in prayer, because that is how I end the Just Alpha shows. And then after that, I'll do our last ads, and then we'll call it a night. Dear Father, thank you for another great day of life. Father, thank you for this audience. Thank you for my family. Thank you for all the blessings that you've given me. Thank you for all the blessings that you've given my audience. Father, even though it's hard for us to understand and sometimes it's hard for us to deal with, we also appreciate the tribulations that you put in our life, because all tribulations will bring us and lead us to salvation, which is an eternity with you, which is the ultimate goal. Father, there are people whose young kids are in bad medical positions right now, and you know who they are. I ask that you hear my calls for their miracle and the calls from my audience for their miracle, to bless them and bring them healing and be the miracles that doctors can't even anticipate. Father, I also thank you for bringing my friend out of surgery, for letting everything go the correct way without complications. And I ask that as he awaits his results this week, that you continue to bring him good news, and that it was benign, and that there's nothing that he has to be concerned with in the near future. Father, I also pray that you hear all the unspoken prayers from my audience tonight, whether it's now or in these replays. Father, again, thank you for everything that you've blessed me with. Folks, again, thank you. Thank you for taking care of me. Thank you for taking care of this show. Let's finish with a Rumble ad and then my ads, because again, one of the reasons I'm able to keep these shows for free is because of the awesome sponsorships, partnerships, and affiliates from people like Rumble and others. So, parents, real talk for a second. America is about to hit a huge milestone. We're coming up on America's 250th birthday. 250 years of freedom, grit, sacrifice, and the greatest experiment in self-government the world has ever seen. This is the perfect moment to help your kids understand why this country matters. Not just the fireworks and the hot dogs and the pool parties, but the story behind it all. There's a free guide. Yes, you heard that right. Free. The Kid's Guide to America's 250th birthday. And it's honestly a great way to introduce kids to how America began, who the founding fathers were, what they risked, and why the ideas they fought for still matter today. The guide sends kids back to the moment when brave men signed the Declaration of Independence, knowing full well that they were risking their lives for freedom. It breaks it all down in a way kids can actually understand and enjoy without watering it down or turning it into boring schoolwork. If you care about raising kids who know where the country came from and why it's worth preserving, this is something you'll want to grab. And the best part, it's completely free. with this special offer. What's the special offer? There's always a catch. Not really. All you have to do is pay $2 for shipping and postage. Just head to freeusabirthday.com. That's freeusabirthday.com and the Kids Guide to America's 205th birthday for your kids today. America's story matters. Make sure the next generation knows it too. And then again, you guys know I love me some Pet Club. If you're not aware of Pet Club, you have seen all over social media. People have been posting the links and the stories. I think it's phenomenal. It has absolutely changed my life. And if you've never heard of them, you're going to hear about them now. Make sure in 22 minutes, folks, DEFCON 0 on Badlands, on Rumble or YouTube or on the different platforms you're watching. Go join me and Josh, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Remember, 7:30 p.m. Eastern for part 2.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets. Regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.